Welcome back, Mr. James. It's good to have you here. As you can imagine, we all work here on this committee pretty hard to try to get our priorities into the WRDA bills. And so when they pass into law, it can be a little bit frustrating when nothing seems to happen in response to the law that we have passed. I'd like to flag two things for you from the 2016 WRDA bill and ask you to give a little shake to the machinery to see if we can get some action. The 2016 WRDA bill in Section 1173 directed the Corps to undertake a National Academy of Sciences study on the use and performance of innovative materials. By law, that report was due this December. To date, we don't believe the Corps has even started it. Can you give that a little shake and see if we can get some attention to that?
Yes, sir, I will. I'm not familiar with that, but I will.
That's why I brought it up here.
I will find out.
And more generally, if you could follow up with me a little bit on what steps might be undertaken to get the Army Corps engineering manuals and other guidance to a place where they reflect the fact of these innovative materials that are being developed. It's important to us in coastal states because some of the more traditional materials don't survive well in salt water, and salt water is increasingly intruding, so these innovative materials matter. And if the engineering manuals that set the standards for them don't exist, they're left out of the equation in ways that are not fair and are not efficient. You'll help on that?
I understand that, sir, and I will get with the Corps to see what it looks like now and make improvements along this line if we don't have it, and I assume we don't.
Appreciate it. We'll follow up. The other WRDA thing from 2016 was the Corps' authority to remove debris like derelict pilings from waterways. The Army Corps had taken the position that they weren't obstacles to navigation because you could navigate around them. To me, that's the definition of an obstacle to navigation, is that you have to navigate around it. But never mind, we got that solved by putting it in the law. And yet, to date, it doesn't appear that the Corps has ever utilized this authority, nor even developed its implementation guidelines. I'd really like to have this not be ignored. So if you could follow up with that as well, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I read that in the law. I was not familiar with it, but I will check with the Corps on that particular problem.
You can appreciate my sentiment.
I'm not sure. I'm just going to say this. I'm not sure if it's an appropriation problem or actually not doing the job problem. So
well, let's solve it, whatever it is.
We'll see it.
Yeah, and I've spoken to your local commander as well about this. The last issue is the continuing one that I raised when we first met before your confirmation about the disparity between coastal and inland funding under the Corps Flood and Coastal Storm Damage Reduction Account. When I first raised it with you, we were looking at the FY18 budget, and the ratio is $30 inland for every $1 coastal. The Corps' FY19 budget proposal, which is $1.49 billion for this account, has $40 million marked for coastal projects. So the ratio has actually gotten worse since you and I first spoke about it. It used to be 30 inland dollars for every one coastal dollar. Now it's 37 inland dollars for every coastal dollar. For coastal states, particularly ones that are facing sea level rise and a whole lot of new hazards that weren't anticipated a half century ago, we would really like to find a way to adjust that. So again, I call this problem to your and to my colleagues' attention, and we will continue to try to find ways to make sure that there's a little bit more balance here between the upland and inland side of this. When it's called the Coastal Storm Damage Reduction Account, you'd like to have coastal have more than a 1 out of 38 ratio for dollars spent.
Pardon me, sir. I understand that. I do recall our discussion last time. I would like to have the opportunity to get with the Corps, see what their budget priorities are on inland versus coastal, the reasoning and all that goes with preparing a budget, and get back with you.
May I come and visit with you and your folks and be a part of that discussion?
Absolutely.
Great, we'll set that up.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. James. Appreciate your leadership of the organization.